Welcome to the limiting reactant series. I want to give you a little crash course on what is a limiting reactant and how do you find it? What kind of problems are you going to work in your class? So first of all, the limiting reactant is, well, it's the reactant, okay? I have seen multiple choice pick the limiting reactant, and I've seen they'll put the products in there. So the limiting reactant is going to be a reactant. So it's going to be the one that limits how much product you can produce. It's the one that's going to run out first in a reaction. And when the limiting reactant runs out, the reaction is done. It stops. And then you're going to have the other reactants left in what we call excess, meaning just leftover. So it will be completely consumed. Now, when do you need to do the limiting reactant? It's when you have all quantities of reactants. Okay, so if you have all of the reactants, maybe you have masses of all the reactants given, that is a hint, that's a clue that you need to find limiting reactant first. So let's do a little example here. How many grams of water are produced from 10 grams of hydrogen and 32 grams of oxygen? So there is the clue. I've got the masses of both. I cannot assume that I have exactly the right ratios. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 10 grams of hydrogen, and then I'm going to duplicate down here. I'm going to do the same thing for oxygen. And what we're going to find out is how much product, now in this case I only have one product, right, water, but how much product is each of them capable of producing? So first step is I've got to get to moles, right? So you're going to trade in your grams of hydrogen and go to moles of hydrogen. I'm going to duplicate down here because I have to do the same thing for oxygen. So converting grams of oxygen to moles of oxygen. Now I'm going to write the numbers in just a minute. I'm going to get where I want to go first. So I always do my problems like this. I put the units in first. Now I'm going to water, and so I'm ready for the mole ratio. So trade in moles of hydrogen for moles of water. And on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing, trading in moles of oxygen for moles of water. Okay, now go to the reaction and grab your coefficients. So there's a 2 in front of the water and a 2 in front of the hydrogen, and then there is an understood 1 in front of that oxygen. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to do the math, and I will be left, I've got to put in my molar masses. So this is 202, and this is 32 grams per mole, okay? And so at this point, we're going to get 5 moles of water on the top and 2 moles of water on the bottom. Okay, units will cancel, right? And we're left with moles of water on each side. Now, danger. I want you to write a big or in between those two, okay? Because what's dangerous is on your paper, you've got 5 moles of water, and then you also have 2 moles of water. They both can't happen, okay? And so one of them I'm going to need to mark out. So the limiting reactant is the one that produces the least amount of product. Well, the least amount of product is 2 moles of water, and so the limiting reactant is oxygen. And so oxygen is the limiting reactant. And I like to write that. Then I'm going to go right back and cross that out. And the reason is because I don't have enough oxygen to produce 5 moles of water. And normally these are multiple step problems. And if you see that 5 moles of water, you may go grab that and use it in another calculation. So there it is. Limiting reactant is oxygen.